And now it's my privilege to welcome our Veterans for Peace President, Patrick McCann, who is joined the U.S. Air Force in 1970, just shy of his 18th birthday, volunteered to go to Vietnam, and then met some Black Panthers in Chicago that educated Patrick about the nature of the struggle in Vietnam, and that as a result, Patrick found himself in the stockade for a while. And he's been a leader in the peace and justice, civil rights, liberation movement ever since. Please welcome Patrick McCann.
Good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here and to start seeing the fruits of our labor. I want to give a little respect, particularly to both John Hewer and Michael McPherson, because we've been the trio from the national leadership that has been on every little detail to make sure that you got picked up in Charlotte. Only had to wait about 6-7 hours, that you'd get there. So we want to big up to the host chapter, enough love, because this definitely wouldn't have happened without them. Just for the record, we do have our convention in San Diego next year, August the 6th, 2015. It is our 30th annual convention, so we're really proud to have that. It's time now for you to think about hosting 2016. We already have one offer. We'll tell you later who that is because we don't want to crowd you out. So think about that. We need to get to the point where we have contending offers for our conventions, right? That's where we want to get to. I want to big up to Pat Alviso for a wonderful pay-on to us, and feels good to be the recipient of that pay-on. Becky Lunig, our angel, who saved us with the handbook. OMG. Doug Zachary for leading the ads campaign. That handbook is a majority ads. That handbook made us $10,000. We hope that we can do something similar with the McCutcheon concert tomorrow night. I'm not positive, but I think tickets are $20 today, but they're $25 on the day of. So there it is, $10 for registered members. So, let's get that. Those are the kind of things that help us to put the money out that says, Global War on Terror veterans can come free, free lodging, free transpo, banquet, registration. That doesn't happen out of good wishes. That happens from things like probably 30 to 40% of the people in this room paying $200 registration, despite the fact that anybody could pay $100 just by being a member or a workshop presenter. And that's the kind of reservoir of goodwill that we not only cherish, but we're starting to rely on. So that's a wonderful thing, and we want to big up to everybody in here for everything that you have done, every chapter that has bought an ad. I like to brag on my chapter. We bought 2 full-page ads. Okay, that's the kind of thing that allows us to do these things. Because, look, I'm a teacher, right? I didn't write this speech down because I know how to represent 5 times a day to 16 and 17-year-olds. So if I can do it that day off the spur of my hat, I just invoke the muse and I put a few points down here, and, some of the stuff is nonlinear, But, let me back to the big ups. Ellen Barfield and other people who have made the Charlotte run a 4.5-hour round trip. And that's if you don't have an 1.5-hour backlog like John Hewer had when he did the very first trip picking up people. So Ellen came in at what time in the morning, and I was going to have to do that. And she got in at 4. Well, I was up at 4:45 doing the the board stuff. So, what's been lovely is every time something needs to be done, in the famous words of John Hewer, somebody comes up and says, I'll do it. And then the best part about it is they do it right then. So it's that kind of like wonderful, wonderful reservoir of goodwill that is just a blessing to see, a blessing to see. So if we can figure out the other part about how to herd cats, we will be a powerful, you know, lean green peace machine, okay? So, a couple of the points that I wanted to raise, and then I was just gonna read what I thought was a pretty decent president's message, and that's easy to go to at the end, right? And a lot of times, you know how we look in these things and then we never read them, so I just want to make sure you heard my president's message at the end of this thing. So this is my second time to be able to do this thing, and as I remember last year, I had two kind of points, and one was the importance of us developing a culture of mutual self-respect. You know what I mean? It's so important to have affective domain knowledge, you know what I mean? And that if you don't feel good about being with people, you don't care if you agree with them on stuff. So it's really important for us to treasure, you know, ourselves and each other, because that is so powerful. So, you know, that was one thing that we really had a lot of talk on the board about this last year, and I think we have a board that really gets along very, very well. In fact, to the point that this year we were able to struggle pretty strong around issues of our demographics and how we are a aging white male organization. We can't allow that to happen. And it is such a pleasure to hear Mike Preisner talking about, we want to take over the reins of this joint. You know what I mean? Because we just ran our lap. We're running our lap, you know, and we can't wait to have that happen. Margaret Stevens, who, you know, teaches at Essex Community College in Newark, New Jersey, and they, you know, she does a lot of progressive teaching with those students and organizing. They had a boot camp Wednesday. So that was yesterday. So she drove to Durham last night, right? So she stayed in Durham and getting up early in the morning to try to make it here at 10:30, you know, and she called us, told us she's going to be in here around 1, so I'm going to say a little bit of stuff she was going to say. But she stood up at our board meeting in April in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she said, Michael Preisner, you should be the Veterans for Peace president. And you know what, Michael, when you are ready, oh my God, son, take on, you know, represent, you know what I mean? Because we know you got to make a living too, you know, and that's one of the things that those of us who are in our 60s, see, I teach high school. I make $95,000 a year, so I don't need a salary. You know, it's killing me time-wise, but I don't need a salary, and so Michael's probably going to need some kind of, you know, support to take on that thing, but we can't wait till that happens. I mean, we have so much love and respect for people like him and Margaret, and we just want more and more of them. Starting to meet some more people here, like Courtney and Monique, and it's just so wonderful to see fresh faces popping up, and we can't wait. We can't wait for you to consider us your elders, and you take the reins. So the other thing that I said last year, and I think this is a weakness of ours, that we needed to do, and I don't think we have done this, and that is that we as individuals need to lay our hands on the organizational machinery of Veterans for Peace. We have a situation where, oh my God, Michael and I are just like overwhelmed with things to do. You know, we've been flying by the seat of our pants down here, and I apologize for that because some of that's my fault. Because as the president of the organization, I teach high school and come home and grade papers. Well, mostly I talk about how I have to grade them because I hate doing it. But you know what I mean? So then the people in Asheville who were so excited about this convention and had 26 people each at meetings for the last couple of meetings. I mean, we never had that in any kind of convention that I was a part of. And it was that kind of enthusiasm, and it was like me being too busy with a rein on them. You know, so we really need to find the ways not just to overwhelm people like myself and Michael and the board, but we need for you all to really seriously think about joining, you know, a project or a committee of national and not only do, you know, your chapter work. So we have to figure out how to do that, you know, but we really want to do that. We need to do that. We need to learn how to organize better. There are so many organizations that mobilize. I think so many of us have been so far on the outside that we don't know how to think big. And we really need to think big. But you know what? It's about money. It's about you getting a recurring credit card donation. They give $20 a month, taken out quarterly. They take $60 for 4 years to fulfill my second lifetime membership, you know, that I made in money, which I wasn't fulfilling that. But that's an opportunity. Now I'm fulfilling it, rather than take it out. It's being taken out. So I want to encourage people to think about making a credit card, you know, putting yourself on for a recurring credit card donation. You know what you can afford. You know, of course, lifetime membership. But people should be putting in their wills, and I've never had a will, and I'm going to make a will, and in the good old Irish Catholic tradition, I'm going to tithe VFP. You know, so I want you to think about that. You know, we've had a couple of bequests in the last year or a half, 2 or 3 at $50,000 a pop. The first we had last year, I think it was right after the Madison Convention. By the way, it was from a woman who was an associate member. So you never know where it's going to come from. You should also consider that, especially if you don't have any kids. Putting veterans, because this is the kind of stuff that we don't have to go back and forth and ask all the time, but we institutionalize our funding. So, you know, there's a little piece on organization. I think that's really, you know, again, things like going to the McCutcheon concert, buying the ads, it really does change the goalposts. We're working on the diversification of members at the leadership. We talked about the struggle that we had this year. It was fairly sharp in the beginning. But I have to say, man, it's been wonderful, you know, the way people have been able to honestly grapple with issues of how to bring forward women as leaders. You know, how do we bring forward people of color as leaders? How do we bring forward the new generation as leaders? So one of those leaders who was today, and she's awesome, and she's not here, so I get to talk about it in an awesome way. It's Margaret Stevens. If anybody was at the Full Disclosure event kicked off in New York City, you saw her. I mean, she like stole the show. Get a witness card. Yeah. Okay. So she was supposed to do. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to. I'm getting extra time because I'm taking her time a little bit. But we made this concept of what we call it PAW, home, peace abroad, and it's fundamentally a question of linking, you know, the peace and justice movements. And 5 of us who came down from D.C. in a car caravan, we stopped at the Greensboro Civil Rights Museum on Monday afternoon, I think it was. And I was like, oh my God, that's what Martin Luther King, it's right on the board. He's starting to talk about the People's March and moving out of the civil rights arena and finding, you know, allies in labor. That's what he was doing when he got killed. You know, supporting the ASME sanitation strike of Memphis. You know, so we been talking to, well, how do we reach out and how do we speak beyond the choir? I mean, I get to brag. I speak behind the choir because I have 140 a week that I get to talk to. So, you know, and some of us had, but we know that we too much speaking to the choir. And we have the ways to find those allies. And I think this is what the PAW thing is all about, taking up the struggles of other people and not just expecting them to come to us, take our struggles. And this is how you build true solidarity. So there's going to be a plenary on Saturday after the business meeting at about 4 o'clock to 4:30. And I think it's Michael and Margaret and perhaps some of the folks from the Black Workers for Justice who are coming to see us Friday. It's about a dozen members of the Fruit of Labor singing chorus. And our young African-American GWAT veterans. So, you know, you're going to see scenery on, you know, on Friday afternoon and stuff. But so we're just beginning to talk about that, and Margaret talks about this as not just a project, but as a lens through which we view things. We don't expect Veterans for Peace to agree with this concept, but I think it's a good concept to that because this is the lens through which we view things. We should always be conscious of, you know, things that are near and dear to oppressed sectors of society. You know, I mean, we need to be conscious of our solidarity with them. Take over that on Friday. Okay, so let me just read my president's message. I'll be done. I thank you very much for your time. So, dear veterans and, whoops, I got to almost 60 without glasses. See? See? That's it? Okay. Dear veterans and winter soldiers, we are pleased to have you here at the 29th Annual National Convention of Veterans here in Asheville, North Kakalaki. We thank you for coming as we thank Chapter 099 for their hard work and their dedication. As we approach our 4th decade as an organization, we are proud of our history, but know that we assemble at a time of great world peril. We see our government re-escalating in Iraq 11 years into a failed experiment. An immoral collusion with Israel remains consensus in American politics, despite an escalation by Israel and changing opinion in America, as the BDS successes, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It's big up BDS. Step up to that. That despite progress, Latin America is on ground. Ask the people of Colombia, Honduras, Venezuela. The SOA still exists. And we're proud that that's our second biggest mobilization every year. It's one of my annual pilgrimage. I go to Columbus before Thanksgiving every year. I encourage you all to put it on your pilgrimages along with the Veterans for Peace Convention. So strong here at home where the U.S. wins the gold in the most incarcerated, where the Tea Party challenges electoral influence. The homeless population, many of whom are veterans, grows, and the eye of the surveillance state spies on everyone, even Angela Merkel of West Germany. We look forward to this convention week from 2 days ago through Sunday. We look forward to building community, and we look forward to accomplishing some strategic planning for peace. We encourage people to make the most of your experiences here, meeting and uniting with others, and involving yourselves optimally in the convention. Again, thank you for attending. Let's get it on.